Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly and today I am going to be reviewing Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. Now if you are new to my channel or even new to BookTube at large, in October we celebrate Victorian literature. And this indeed is a quintessential Victorian literature read. And so anyhow, if you are new to my channel, then hi, welcome. I'm Shelly. I absolutely love books and reading, and more importantly, or just as importantly, I love talking about what I'm reading. And if you find yourself enjoying this video or the vibe, either one, I would. Whew, I'm a little bit of a hot mess sometimes. I would encourage you to subscribe, like the video, stick around, and without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Victober is a long-standing event here on BookTube, and sometime in the middle of September, I was really feeling FOMO. Like I was fearing that I was going to miss out on Victober, and had a lot of big feelings about that. And of course, as one does, I posted a video about my feelings about missing Victober or possibly missing Victober. And I really was just feeling, I was feeling really sad. And so I talked about some of my ideas and what I might be able to squeeze in October. The thing is that I am a teacher, I'm a mother, I am a wife, and I am a person myself. And I've got a lot going on. And sometimes reading, especially participating in a BookTube event, sometimes I want to participate in I want to do it full force. I want to take the event in my hands and master it like a potter is to clay kind of thing. Terrible metaphor. Really bad metaphor. But that is how I feel. I just want to be like the queen of Victorian literature. And so when I was feeling that that wasn't going to happen, of course I posted a video in my feelings and letting y'all know that. So in the comments, I'm trying to get to the comments of that video. In the comments of that video, of course, everybody was being very sweet and saying that, don't worry about fully participating. But I also got a lot of feedback on my thoughts as to what I wanted to read. And a lot of comments said that I would love Gaskell's Cranford. So I did indeed read this, and I read this with my friend Anita. We do a ton of buddy reads together. She's a wonderful, wonderful friend and an awesome buddy reader, and we read this together. So please keep in mind that tons and tons of people, or what felt like tons and tons of people, said that Cranford is a Shelley book, that I'm gonna love this book, that it's gonna be amazing. So keep that in mind. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the history of this book. So this book was originally published in episodes in a magazine called Household Words. Household Words' editor is the one and only Charles Dickens. And after 2 of the stories were published, Charles Dickens encouraged Elizabeth Gaskell to keep going and to continue to write. So over the course of 18 months with a break in between, this book was published in first a magazine. It's been lightly edited since then, but for the most part it stays intact, and it is essentially about the snobbery and the town of Cranford, which is mostly made up of older widows or spinsters. They're unmarried women or women. Actually, I don't even think most of them are widows. Most of them are just unmarried women, and they are now living in this tiny town. Nobody has any wealth, really. I mean, what wealth they have is not extravagant, and there is a lot of, it starts off quite silly because it's like nobody cares. In the town of Cranford, everybody is out of fashion, but since everybody is out of fashion, nobody really cares about fashion, and so it's like in fashion to be out of fashion, essentially, almost. And there's a lot of silliness of the way that the women interact with each other and the way the snobbery comes out and the way that Gaskell deals with conversations about class and about wealth and about poverty. And the way that the women sometimes gently and less gently deal with that amongst themselves and within the society that they live in. And then the stories begin to start to sharpen and hone in on a couple of characters. We have our narrator, who only gets named in the very end, otherwise she remains rather nameless, and another character named Maddie. And it starts to focus in on those two women and their interactions with each other, but mostly it's about our narrator narrating Maddie's story. And of course the narrator is full of personality and her own discretions that she brings forth into the story. And it is a novel told in vignettes. The stories almost stand alone in and of themselves, but there is a thread and a theme that does come together at the end. So that is essentially what Cranford is about. I would say that it is the ultimate slice of life type novel. It is a slice of life Victorian novel focusing on the lives of older women. And so if you are interested in that kind of book, something that is sweet, sometimes funny, sometimes witty, sometimes quite poignant and a little bit sentimental, that focuses on domestic details and is truly that of the daily life of these women, then this is the book for you. This, according to everyone in my comments, said that it was the book for me and then some. Like, it was all that. This was written for the Shelley Swearingen that you see before you. I'd have to say that I liked the novel, but I didn't love the novel. And I don't even know if I can articulate to you why. It was almost too slow. It sounds so weird because I love slow-paced novels. I love slice of life novels. I love all of that. But I think what happens, and maybe as I'm sitting before you now, I will articulate my issue with this. I love slow novels when there is either a focus on the setting, the atmosphere is a type of character, or if the characters themselves are super deeply explored. It's like super deep dive into the characters. And it's slow for that. Like, not a lot happens because we're really understanding a single character or a handful of characters. And I think that Cranford missed that a little bit. It focused sort of broadly on a lot of the women in Cranford. And it was only until more than halfway in did I realize that it was focusing in on a spare few. I mean, you see the same names repeated, but we're not really getting a depth of character and a nuance and a sensitivity to each character. There's kindnesses that happen in the book. There is sweetness that is exchanged and sweet moments and, again, poignant moments, moments that sort of hit the mark. It didn't really have that depth. You got a sense of Cranford and of the wealth and poverty, essentially, and what that means to the women at large. But it almost felt like you were getting a story that didn't give you a focus on the town or the space. You're inside a bunch of women's homes, and you get a sense of sometimes like who has more wealth than another through their gossipy and sort of snobbish natures, and they go to church, and there's these different things that the women do, but it seemed sort of like it just kind of swept over that in broad strokes. And I think that maybe that's why I struggle with it. It was because it was so broad. It was so kind of far-reaching. Well, and it wasn't even that, but it almost didn't have enough of a focus for me, or the focus that it had was not aligned with my interest. And the focus probably itself was, the conversations about wealth and the way that the women get by. And you would think that that would be for me. And there were moments that I really loved, but you know, it seemed like she flitted in and out of that conversation and didn't have enough of a focus for me. And it could be that it was printed episodically and that maybe Elizabeth Gaskell, I don't know, I'm not sure, but maybe Elizabeth Gaskell herself wrote these stories and enjoyed what she was doing, and only later did she realize that she could start tying everything together and that there would be she could start bringing things back and bringing things in that tied up loose ends or that connected stories to one another. But we didn't get that until the very end. And so in that way, I didn't love it. And I found that when I was like, I mean, this is a very short novel, it seemed like it dragged to me. Like, it seemed like it took me forever to read for it being so short. I was like, this is just dragging. You know, you can make the argument that Victorian literature, it takes sometimes a little while for things to get going. But even when I was more than halfway through, there was a little bit like, I sort of have to gently encourage myself to pick it up rather than, you know, being excited as to where the story was going and like, you know, digging into it deeper. There was also this sense that like when I was 2/3 of the way through, I was already forgetting what had happened in the earlier stories, which is odd because it's a short book, so I should be able to like retain all of it as I'm reading, because it didn't even take me that long to read, even though it felt like it took me forever. It only took me about a week, maybe less, and I just it felt like it just went on forever and ever and ever and ever. And that there are some stories that like I probably have already forgotten, which is just odd. It's just odd for me. I feel like a little bunch of hair. My goodness. So I'm here to say that I liked the novel, but I didn't live, laugh, love it. like so many of you said I would. So I don't want to say you steered me wrong, but maybe I'm giving out the wrong vibes in the world. Maybe I wasn't in the mood for this and that really impacted the read for me. So, you know, it could be a me thing. It could be the way that people are reading me. It could be the way that I've defined my taste and steering you all wrong as to what I would love. But there's just something about it. Like, again, it was like a solid read. I would not tell anybody not to read it unless I knew them really well and I know exactly what they like and they only like reading modern thrillers. And I would say, yeah, you probably won't love this, but you know, you can give it a try. But you know, it's not like I'm gonna be like, oh, that book is horrible, don't read it. No, it's not like that in the least. It's more like, it's slow, it's quiet, it's a very slice of life. It's very quiet. And if you want to get a very broad idea of what Victorian life was like for women in a small town possibly, then, you know, this will be your novel. So anyways, that is it. I've really kind of gone to town with this review, so, you know, sorry, not sorry. Let me know, have you read the novel? What do you think about it? How did you like it? Did it align with your expectations of the novel? Or what you thought you would get out of it? Yeah, it's been interesting articulating to you maybe why the book didn't work for me. But anyhow, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye.